The NBA Draft, where memories are made, moments where dreams become reality. The prestigious, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to walk up the stage, make your presence felt, continue working on your game, and see how far each player has grown. Every single NBA draft has its own unique perspectives. Other classes undeniably more talented than most, filled with a bunch of all-time great players and several Hall of Famers and MVP winners, while some absolute travesties with zero Hall of Famers, truly disappointing on all levels. Other drafts will have that once-in-a-lifetime generational prospect dominating all the headlines, where the number 2 pick becomes irrelevant. Years from now, we'll see which players from this 2024 draft class will be all-stars and relevant by the end of the decade. The one question everybody loves asking themselves, who will be the best player in the draft? Many times, we'll know within the first 2 seasons. Having consensus opinions such as 1992 Shaquille O'Neal or 1997's Tim Duncan, from the moment they step onto the floor, you knew they were going to be Hall of Famers. Other times, it might take several years to find out. The 93 and 94 class, a tight one, Chris Webber versus Penny Hardaway, Jason Kidd versus Grant Hill, very debatable from the start, but after the injuries to Hill and Penny, it was clear C-Webb and Kidd were the best in their class, while it took several years for Kobe Bryant to truly break out in the 96 draft. After the three-peat with Shaq, there was no doubt Jerry West was 100% accurate about the 17-year-old's greatness. Even a few years ago, some were saying Dame Lillard above Anthony Davis in the 2012 draft, but after a title, continued two-way excellence, and a higher ceiling, it's evident AD clearly the better player in career over Dame Lillard, whether people like it or not. The first of several draft class, many still conflicted on the best player. We'll have to start all the way back to 1960. The Oscar Robertson and Jerry West sweepstakes both retired as the best guards the league has seen until the arrival of Earvin Magic Johnson, the Big O out of Cincinnati. West, drafted by Los Angeles number 2 from West Virginia, very debatable, both won a title. Oscar, the better all-around numbers, but missed the clutch, way more impactful in the postseason, despite both just winning 1 title. The Big O only appeared in 2 finals, and West 9 times. Their total postseason numbers not even close. Even a decade ago, many had Oscar on top, one of the all-time greats, pushed out the top 10 conversations the last several years. Some even had him top 5 in player rankings 20 years ago based on his incredible triple-double numbers. His accomplishments seemed impossible to break, but later shadowed by Russell Westbrook. The 2 all-time greats couldn't have been any different. Oscar carried the Royals to the number 1 offense for several years, an all-time great playmaker and rebounding guard, while West the better defender, also an underrated passer, and a little better scorer. Oscar played with Bob Boozer, Jerry Lucas, and Wayne Embry before winning a title with young Lou Alcindor in Milwaukee. West had Elgin Baylor, a top 5 player throughout the 60s decade. 99% of people watching this video likely weren't alive to see them both play in their prime. Near impossible to assess the talents. Oscar, first 4 years in the league, Big O clearly the better player, but the latter half of their careers, West gets the nod. Robertson's last All-NBA first team, 1969, West was still making first team from 70 to 73. Slam Magazine's top 75 player rankings in 2003 had Oscar at number 3, West ranked 8. Back then, the all-time rankings put a more higher emphasis on individual play, but over the past decade, everything becomes a ring contest. You honestly can't go wrong with either one. Both still rank in many top 15s, neck and neck. It's almost like apples to oranges. Oscar had the better peak statistically, while West elevated his game in the playoffs with better numbers, constantly losing to teams with 5 or more Hall of Famers. Still the only finals MVP on a losing team, having several insanely clutch postseason moments, while many today can't think of a crazy play Oscar had in the postseason on top of their heads. In my humble opinion, I rank Mr. Jerry West slightly a tiny bit ahead of Oscar Robertson, but for those who put the Big O higher in their all-time rankings, can't go wrong with that either. 1967, Walt Frazier vs. Earl Monroe. From former rivals to teammates and champions together, Clyde a 7-time All-Star, 6 All-NBAs, 7 defensive teams. The Pearl, 4-time All-Star, 1 All-NBA team. Both played exactly 14 seasons. Monroe faced Clyde's Knicks 1970 playoffs, averaged 28 for the series. Frazier 19 over 8 and 6. Earl the more exciting player with elite ball handling, quickness, the original Kyrie before Kyrie, a playground god known for his signature spin moves, while Frazier more of a traditional point guard known for his incredible defense, court vision, and leadership on the court. Along with the smooth style of play and clutch performances in big games, the two styles couldn't be any more different. Monroe more so like a Kyrie caliber guy, while Clyde similar to Gary Payton, both top 75 all time. From intense rivals to teammates. Same position, Earl sacrificed his scoring numbers his prime years to fit in at the Mecca. The two super great respect for one another, one of the most underrated backcourt mates all time. Even past his prime, the Pro in his 30s still able to average above 20 points a game on a weaker Knicks team. Monroe selected 2nd overall, Frazier 5th. Many decades of friendships, true gentlemen with style, two of the coolest basketball players for their time. Many would give Clyde Frazier the edge, both absolute fan favorites. 1968, Elvin Hayes vs. Wes Unseld, also former teammates, 1st and 2nd pick. Hayes the more talented player with better numbers, but Unseld a more complete intangible superstar, a greater all-around team player. Hayes' career started with the Rockets but missed the playoffs his first 4 years. Unseld spent all 13 seasons with the Bullets. Hayes won the scoring title as a rookie. West the MVP of the league. Judging on stats, not knowing anything about the two, many would take Hayes. But Unseld the closest resemblance to a Bill Russell, a monster screener, fantastic outlet passer, one of the pound for pound best rebounders all time, the driving force amongst team success. While Hayes didn't have the best reputation, labeled a shot chucker, inefficient and selfish, despite making 12 All-Star teams, 6 All-NBAs, Unseld only 5 All-Stars, 1 All-NBA team. Hayes also having similar career stats to Tim Duncan and Moses Malone, plus great longevity, but a negative image, nowhere near as impactful as what his numbers would say, especially with the Rockets. Even for the one title both won, Hayes the better all-around numbers, but fouled out early Game 7 of the finals. The Bullets would prevail, led by their leader, the YU controversially winning finals MVP. Hayes known as a fast starter, gets hot early, but tends to melt under pressure in big moments, while Unseld's do-it-all style of play will always make him the most beloved player in Washington Bullets franchise history. Hayes' incompetency arguably cost him losing out on a finals MVP. He most likely would win if didn't foul out. Both polar opposite skill sets, but complemented each other well, different attitudes, but ultimately needed each other to win. While many likely have the Big E higher on their all-time player rankings, and clearly the more talented individual star player, Unseld's quiet demeanor and leadership can't get measured looking at numbers, both forever remembered as championship teammates. 1971, artist Gilmore vs. Spencer Haywood, two centers who played in the lost decade. Gilmore played 5 seasons in the ABA, being one of the league's all-time best shot blockers. Haywood averaged 30 and 20 as a 20-year-old. The higher ceiling, absolutely unstoppable 6'8" physical specimen, put up 29 and 13 during the 73 season, 5-time All-Star, 4 All-NBAs. Haywood the better prime, but faded early due to cocaine addiction. Gilmore much better on D, 11 total All-Stars, 6 of which being in the NBA, being a massive 7'2", with strength knocking the door of Wilt and Shaq. Made the Hall of Fame in 2011, Haywood inducted 2015, the only two in the class to make it. Haywood, now most known for his actions with Winning Time, a heck of a roller coaster career, won a lawsuit against the league allowing him to enter the NBA without waiting 4 years out of high school. Both very late picks, two super unique players in their own right. 1973, Doug Collins and George McGinnis, no Hall of Famers this draft, arguably just as weak as 2000. Collins drafted 1st overall, played only 8 seasons, retired early due to knee injuries, 4-time All-Star, 18 points a game 2 guard. Big George on the other hand, one of the most decorated ABA players, 6'8", built like LeBron before LeBron won an ABA MVP. Both played 3 seasons in Philly together. George even made 2 All-NBA teams, Collins none. McGinnis the better career resume, but struggled mightily during the 77 playoffs. Went from averaging 21 regular season to just 14 a game. On 37% shooting, Collins balled out, looked like Philly's best second option in their finals run, averaged 22.4 points. Individually, Big Mac way better and more talented player, but Collins way more team-oriented. McGinnis traded for Bobby Jones in 78, then for Alex English in 1980. Both Philly and Denver much better after George's departure. 1974, Bill Walton and George Gervin. Legacy versus longevity. Obviously, Gervin had the more complete NBA resume, 5 first teams, 7 All-NBAs, and a 12-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champ, while Big Red, the greater legacy impact, especially his accomplishments in college, the second greatest collegiate player the NCAA's ever witnessed, would arguably be in the GOAT conversation if he was injury-free. By his 3rd season, led his Blazers to a title at just 24 years old, edged out Gervin for MVP the following season. Despite missing 24 games, Walton's Blazers 50-8 with him in the lineup. His impact and ceiling much higher. Big Red's MVP case built from the moment he led his team to the title after the Blazers franchise never sniffed the playoffs. Gervin, one of the best scorers for his time, very similar style to KD, similar body frame, while Walton was the best player on the best team from April 1977 to March 1978. 1976, Robert Parrish, Alex English, Adrian Dantley, Dennis Johnson. A 4-way argument, nobody consensusly better than the other. English and Dantley the better scorers, but didn't win as much. Dantley already traded out of Detroit before the 89 title. DJ and Pac, the better 2-way guys, won several rings with the 80 Celtics. Dennis, a proven finals MVP with Seattle in 79. Both sacrificed heavily to fit in one of the best teams ever assembled. DJ, the only one making first team All-NBA. All 4 multiple-time All-Stars. The chef does have the advantage, making the prestigious top 75 all-time list, being a 4-time champion with insane longevity, from playing against John Havlicek to finishing his career playing against rookie Kobe Bryant. 1977, Bernard King vs. Jack Sikma. The 7 and 8 picks, King the more notable star, incredible offensive firepower with the scoring, but injury shortened his career, while the 6'11 big, more consistent, won a title with Seattle as the 3rd option, never finished higher than 7 for MVP. King at his apex came in 2nd place in 84 behind Larry Bird, even took Bird Celtics to 7, the conference finals, averaged 35 that playoffs. Sikma the better all-around career, but a prime King for a couple years, unquestionably better. Jack put in a better position with better teammates. Played 74 more playoff games than Bernard, both inducted to the Hall way after their playing days. King back in 2013, Sikma 2019. Wild draft mate Walter Davis, the 3rd to be named to the Hall of Fame 2024 after his passing. 1982, James Worthy versus Dominique Wilkins, an intense debate with many what-ifs. We'll never know how their careers turn out if LA picked Dominique Wilkins. Worthy entered Showtime while Dominique spent most of his career with Atlanta on a much weaker team, had the way better numbers but no titles, while Big Game James could easily have better stats elsewhere, sacrificed to blend in with Magic and Kareem, stepped up huge as a playoff performer and thrived under pressure. Worthy the better defender, Wilkins more explosive scorer, both excellent drivers and finishers. Wilkins had to carry a heavy load and played in the tougher East all throughout the 80s, while Worthy did win a Finals MVP. His only career triple-double, Game 7. Dominique, 7 All-NBA teams. Worthy, 2, a huge difference. Wilkins also finished top 6 in the MVP voting 4 times. Worthy never sniffed the top 10, especially playing with Magic. Worthy's bad knees forced him to retire at 33, while Wilkins, still an all-star at 34, still averaged above 18 a game at age 37. On a bad Spurs team, Worthy ended up making the NBA's top 50 list, while Wilkins didn't, but eventually did make top 75. 1986, the answer is easily Dennis Rodman, but would you take him on a bad dysfunctional team with no leadership? If he ended up in a place like the modern Charlotte Hornets, Would he even have time to turn things around? While 24 pick Arvydas Sabonis needs already cooked by the time he came to the NBA, likely the best talent, especially in his prime, Mark Price super underrated, 4 All-NBA teams, and of course, this class not complete without mentioning the tragic death of Len Bias. Many believe he could have been a superstar, to the likes of even being MJ's rival. Could have easily been one of the best players in the game if he didn't tragically pass away. 1999, one of the most complete draft classes, no all-time greats, but exceptional second and third option pieces to build a championship team. Ron Artest, Manu Ginobili, Rip Hamilton, Lamar Odom, and Shawn Marions of the world, while Elton Brand had the highest peak, 7th for MVP in 2006, injury shortened his prime. First 4 seasons, Baron Davis and Steve Francis looked like borderline superstars, but had bad injuries, ruining their careers. Manu didn't come over to the NBA till age 25 in 2002, played with Duncan and Parker off the bench several years, became one of the greatest 6-man all time, 4 titles, could have posted higher numbers elsewhere, but incredible team success, never needing to be a number 1 option, but perfect, turning a good team into a dynasty, while Shawn Marion, a do-it-all Swiss Army knife, statistically better than Manu and a better defender, 4 All-NBA teams, won a ring with the 2011 Mavs, but Ginobili the only one in this draft class in the Hall of Fame, basketball legacy-wise, with heavy international success, trumps every one of the US-born players. From an NBA perspective, many lean towards the Matrix, but Ginobili's impact with the 4 titles and winning gold medal with Argentina, the winning qualities second to none. 2000, an absolute travesty class, 3 one-time All-Stars, only Michael Redd made All-NBA, Jamal Crawford, the greatest longevity, known for being a 3-time 6-man winner with insane crossover and highlights. Michael Redd had the best peak before injuries forced him to retire early. Kenyon Martin, a solid power forward, but not number 1 pick worthy in most drafts with the exception to 2000. Crawford's career pretty much doubled Redd's. Jamal and Mike Miller, good accolades. Kmart, the second option for the 02 and 03 Finals Nets teams, while 2009 Turkoglu, the number 2 guy for the Magic. All these players wouldn't even be considered top 5 in most draft classes. You ask 1,000 NBA experts on who's the best player of the 2000 draft, you'll be stuck asking yourself the same question till the end of time. 2001, Tony Parker or Pau Gasol. Although Gilbert Arenas may have the greatest peak, blew out his knee at 25, never the same again. The 2 international sensations, the second options behind 2 of the best players of the 2000s. TP had the luxury to start his career playing for prime Duncan, while Gasol did lead Memphis to multiple playoffs but swept all 3 times before teaming up with Kobe. 6-time All-Stars, 4 All-NBAs, Pau the better advanced stats, but Parker twice as many championships with 1 Finals MVP, 226 playoff games played over Gasol's 136. Due to Parker being on the best run franchise during the time, his NBA career resume a little sharper than Pau's, even finishing top 5 in MVP voting in 2013, but many lean on Gasol being the slightly better player overall, especially with the international career and his impact with the Spanish national team. Gasol's basketball resume arguably a little greater. Both entered the Hall together, literally the closest draft to a 1A and 1B guy, an argument that will go on forever and ever. 2002 draft, Yao Ming vs Amari Stoudemire, an underwhelming class. Carlos Boozer deserves an honorable mention. The 1st and 9th pick, 5 All-NBAs each. Stat even made first team at center. 2 totally different players. Ming the better low post scorer in the half court, a better defender. Amari lethal in the pick and roll, mid-range pick and pops, and crazy finishes around the rim with an elite point guard. Legacy-wise, Yao greater with the international presence, but super injury prone, lasted just 8 seasons. Stoudemire the better playoff success, insane memorable series, averaged 26 and 9 between 2005 to 2010 postseason, while Yao only won 1 playoff series for his career, but gave Shaq tons of problems with his strength and size. His legacy, much more celebrated. A big reason why he's in the Hall of Fame and Amari's not, but Stoudemire will probably get in at some point within the next 10 years. 2006, LaMarcus Aldridge or Kyle Lowry. With the injuries to Brandon Roy, who had the highest ceiling, lasted just over 300 games. If we discussed this list 10 years ago, it'd be between Aldridge and Rondo, LA being the better number 1 option with 5 All-NBA teams to show, while Lowry the better glue guy as a number 2 or 3 option on a contender. Peak Rondo arguably better than peak Lowry, but with longevity, Kyle played in too many important playoff games, a scrappy, high IQ point guard who can play for any team, a much better leader, arguably a more impressive career than LaMarcus. His Raptors actually had the number 1 pick in the 06 draft, but Lowry didn't make his first All-Star team till 9 years into his career, a better two-way player and a title winner, something LaMarcus don't have. Aldridge being unstoppable in the post with a nasty mid-range jumper. If him and Kyle Lowry were teammates, Aldridge would be viewed the better player and the go-to bucket getter, but Lowry ultimately will be more remembered. The perfect guy to ask who's better amongst these two. To give us the best answer, just ask DeMar DeRozan, a teammate of both. 2016 is Jaylen Brown, right now winning the illustrious Finals MVP, putting in work in a top-notch franchise despite Ben Simmons, the most talented, easily the consensus number 1 choice before the Hawks series, super lazy and just doesn't give a damn. JB, Jamal Murray, and Pascal Siakam all won titles. Sabonis and Ingram never even got out the first round. BI on his way to a 3rd team. New Orleans don't even want him no more. The 3-star champs in this class all proven to risen their game in the playoffs. The answer is clearly trending towards Jaylen Brown right now, but the rest of the decade remains to be seen. The most recent drafts such as 2021, too much to be determined. 2022, looking like a pile of worst Chet debate. 23, clearly Wemby, assuming he's healthy for the long run. 2020, and Edwards separated himself from Halliburton. 1970, Dave Cowens over Pete Maravich, Bob Lanier, and Nate Archibald due to winning MVP and 2 titles. 1985, Karl Malone over Patrick Ewing. 87, David Robinson over Scottie Pippen. 89, Tim Hardaway slightly above Shawn Kemp. And 2015, Devin Booker a good lead on Karl Anthony Towns. All these draft classes mentioned will spark debates on who's the better player. Topics like these in sports might never get settled. For other great NBA topics coming soon, subscribe for more amazing content. Until next time.